Hi everyone, thank you very much. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. I appreciate you watching. Welcome to another classic movie review. October is over, so I can go back to talking about stuff that isn't just all horror movies. Gonna be talking about action and comedy and drama and everything else. And this first November review is the sequel to the original Dirty Harry, of which I already spoke of, I think about last year, sometime last year. And this movie was directed by Ted Post, came out in 1973, once again starring the great Clint Eastwood, talking about Magnum Force. The original Dirty Harry is one of my favorite action movies from the 1970s, and also one of the best movies ever, to be honest, in my opinion. And this sequel, even though it isn't on the level of greatness as the first movie, is still very entertaining and fun to watch. The first movie has a more serious feel since its plot is taken right out of the headlines of that time, with the main bad guy in that movie being based on the real life Zodiac killer. In this very first Dirty Harry sequel, somebody is going around playing judge, jury, and executioner with many of the criminals in San Francisco. And at the very beginning of the film, we see a motorcycle cop stop a car with people inside. And when he walks up to the car and asks for information, they're caught off guard and they all get capped by this motorcycle cop. And so he goes back to his motorcycle very kind of casually and rides off. And then this kind of thing happens again in different ways with different kinds of criminals. And so the movie lets us know who our bad guy is without completely revealing who is inside the helmet. It doesn't take very long before Inspector Callahan is on the case and he gets on the trail of the killer or killers, and pretty soon he does find out pretty much who it is, but he's not allowed to really go further on it until he gets proof, so he has to do a bit of detective work in this one. He does in the first one, but in this one I think we get to see a bit more of that side, which is really cool. Harry also has a new partner in this one, played by Fenton Perry, who was also the OCP Rep Johnson in the classic RoboCop movies. And this one, the cops on the police force are taking bets to see how long he's going to last as Harry's partner. And as far as partners go, he actually is pretty reliable. As far as action goes, this movie has twice as much action as the original Dirty Harry. And the original had its share of action and felt a lot more grounded compared to this time around, with Harry hanging off the hood of a car in a stunt that looks very much like it was done by Clint Eastwood himself, and when you watch, comes off very impressive. There's also a really great moment where Harry and his partner just happen to be at the airport while there is a hijacking of a plane about to happen, and Harry kind of senses something that's going on at the terminal. He goes to check it out, and when he finds out what's happening, he decides to disguise himself as a pilot to get on the plane. There are some really great car chases in this movie, and for the car chases, they make great use of the streets of San Francisco. San Francisco always looks great on film, but it looks especially great in these Dirty Harry movies, and they take full advantage of like the hilly parts of the city. For those of you that aren't familiar, there is a very famous street in San Francisco, particularly Russian Hill, Lombard, and Hyde, and it's known as Lombard Street. It's a very kind of curvy, downhill slope kind of street, and it's very fun to see a chase happen on this street. It's one of the more iconic moments in this film. We also get a very cool chase scene with Dirty Harry on a motorcycle, and it's very cool to see Clint Eastwood on a motorcycle, by the way, riding right through the Embarcadero trying to get the bad guys. And there are some great standoffs in this movie, some great shoot 'em up moments. There is even a moment where Dirty Harry has to deal with a bomb that's been planted. The character of Inspector Harry Callahan also feels a bit different in this movie compared to the first movie, in where in that one he was a bit more rigid and a lot more about his job and just being more of a hard ass cop, not having no time for any kind of hanky panky. But in this one, they kind of let him be a bit more friendly and more of a ladies' man. There's a scene in this movie where Harry is concerned for a fellow cop, and so he goes to pay a visit to his wife or ex wife or something, and she pretty much throws herself at Harry, really kind of being flirty and trying to let him know that if he wants to, she's available. And there's another scene where he goes back home to his apartment, and there's a neighbor there, pretty young woman, that pretty much says, "Hey, what do I have to do to get you in the sack?" And he's actually pretty into it. And so, yeah, Harry has a lot more fun this time around. For anyone that's a fan of action movies or a fan of cop thrillers or just a fan of Clint Eastwood, I definitely recommend Magnum Force. If you haven't seen Dirty Harry, definitely check it out and then go and watch its sequel and then keep going from there, because these movies are tons of fun. And Magnum Force is one of the great 1970s action films. It's not quite on the level of the original Dirty Harry, but still a very fun time. I give it 3.5 stars. If you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely check it out. I think you can find it on HBO Max, or I'm sorry, Max, excuse me, since it is a Warner Brothers film, and most of the movies that they display there are Warner Brothers movies. But there's always hard copies, like I'm always saying, which are disappearing very fast. I was at a store recently, saw they got rid of their entire physical media section, which was very kind of depressing. But here's my copy of Magnum Force, which is kind of a double feature with the original Dirty Harry. And as you can see there, there is Clint wearing those very cool shades, looking badass with that gun there in his hand, kind of pointing it in a downward angle, and just a real badass image of Dirty Harry Callahan. Magnum Force is an awesome flick, 3.5 stars. Highly recommend. Check it out. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. Very much appreciate you. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into classic movies, please hit the bell, subscribe, and look out for more classic movie reviews. And please don't forget to share, comment, like, and please look out for the next classic movie review. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. God bless. Until next time.